Parade schedules have been in flux since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. Now New Orleans city officials say it's time to return to traditional parade routes, but some fear the recent surges in car break-ins and violence could make this carnival season a dangerous one. Walter Leger with New Orleans & Company shares their plans to foster a safe Mardi Gras season.
All right, well, obviously hospitality is a really big part of New Orleans, and one of the biggest hospitality events is Mardi Gras. Do you know how many tourists that event pulls in?
We know that roughly 1 million people a year celebrate Mardi Gras with us here in New Orleans over the course of the whole season. Of course, those numbers swell on some of the bigger parade days, that final weekend and into Mardi Gras Day itself. But it is a major economic impact for our city and for our state. And it's part of what defines the city of New Orleans in the minds of people all over the world.
Are you expecting the same number of tourists coming in this year? Because we've had COVID, we've got a long recovery period in between that. Do you expect the same numbers?
So we know that numbers were a little bit lower last year than they were in previous years. Certainly, it's been a recovery period for us in a lot of different ways. So it's hard to know exactly, but it does seem like the excitement has returned, and we're expecting to see a big crowd once again. Certainly visitors from other parts of the country, but also we know that families gather from our region to celebrate New Orleans here in the city, and we're expecting to have pretty large crowds. We're prepared for it and ready.
So there are a lot of people that are excited for Mardi Gras. I'm one of them. I haven't been in years, but there's also another side that's a little concerned because crime in New Orleans has spiked. Is that a concern for tourists coming in celebrating Carnival this year?
Well, we work with cities all over the country and other destinations that are competing for business against the city of New Orleans. And one thing that we recognize is that there are challenges with public safety across the country. Our city is not immune to those challenges. And so we are not alone when I think people are taking giving additional thought and taking additional precautions when they travel these days. But I don't believe that public safety concerns are going to impact the passion that people have for Mardi Gras and the desire to come together with family and friends and celebrate. I think that we, as usual, we've worked with and partnered with the city as they talk about things that they need to do in order to continue to put on the biggest quote unquote free show on earth that the people in New Orleans put on for the world. And so we're very confident as usual with the excellent work that our city does to be prepared for complex events like Mardi Gras and to deliver on those so that people can have a good time and be safe doing it. The city of New Orleans is fortunate this year that we're able to partner with sheriff's departments around the state to provide additional support to NOPD to ensure that there's sufficient officers on the street as the parades return to their historic parade routes, that will only lend additional, I think, comfort and also belief that everything can be pulled off in the way that we've always pulled it off, which is a lot of fun and safe for our families and friends and visitors to gather.
And for the people that don't know, why weren't the parades on their traditional routes?
Yeah, so last year, as we were kind of emerging from COVID, the city of New Orleans restricted some of the routes in order to ensure that there was sufficient police officer coverage and other city services were able to be provided. Trash collection and other things associated with hosting major complex events like this one, we're able to go forward. And so I think it's a very positive sign that we're able to return to our traditional route, which is a little bit longer than they were last year. It will allow people to spread out a little more along the parade route, and with the assistance of sheriff's departments around the state, supporting NOPD and ensuring that they can adequately accomplish the mission.
All right, so the goal is really just to make sure that everything is back to normal, everybody has a good time. Are there any other preparations besides bringing in additional law enforcement just to make sure that everybody's safe?
Well, I think the law enforcement presence is one thing. I think there's some interesting efforts that the city's undertaken, and we're doing it in partnership with them this year to improve the quality of the experience along the parade route. It's called Recycle Dat. It's a sustainable Mardi Gras push where there's going to be efforts to collect bead debris as well as aluminum cans and other recyclable materials along the parade route. Our building here is actually going to be a hub for the collection of those materials and then the recycling of them. In years past, Mardi Gras was measured, the success of Mardi Gras was measured by how much garbage was collected. And so the idea that we can shift our focus to really trying to be as sustainable as we can be and undertaking recycling efforts, I think it's another move by the city and us and other partners across the community to just improve the experience and allow the people of the city to assist in that effort as they participate in Mardi Gras.